Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to do a quick video covering some more Marathon news. About 2 weeks ago I had talked about the game director switch that had happened, and there hasn't been a ton of news, but I saw a few interesting stories pop up that I thought would benefit to talk about. So I just wanted to cover those real quick today. Also, my next video in the While We Wait for Marathon series is going to be covering Hunt Showdown, and that should be out tomorrow or the day after that. Definitely learned a lot of really great stuff that could totally apply to Marathon, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So let's get started here. I saw this article from GameRamp that was talking about Silent Hill 2 and every rumored game for PlayStation's May event explained. Basically, it's talking about how E3 is no more, but there is a May PlayStation event, kind of like how last year the Marathon trailer was revealed at a Sony showcase. And this is talking about how Marathon information could be there. GameRant said down here, another game that appeared at last year's PlayStation showcase with scarce information since is Bungie's upcoming title Marathon. The sci-fi extraction shooter from the developer of Destiny 2 is set to be another major title for Sony, making the rumored May showcase the perfect time to show off this game. I think this kind of falls in line with everything they said. I know in the Vidoc from last year they talked about how there was going to be a long wait in between that initial announcement and more information, so I kind of feel like a year and then also showing at the same event would be logical in terms of their marketing strategy, especially now when we're talking about kind of hyping this up for a 2025 release, seemingly. So it would make sense to me that a Sony showcase would be the place that they would do that. Obviously, Bungie is owned by Sony. There's kind of some strife going on with that. So I'm definitely hoping to see some more information, another trailer, maybe even a release kind of window, maybe Q1 of 2025, or just not necessarily a date, but something that, points us a little bit more in the right direction and maybe hits at some of these changes that have been rumored, like the hero shooter aspect or whatever that's been talked about. The next article I want to talk about is Bungie's Marathon could feature third-person combat like Destiny 2. And this, I believe, is from ePewter or something, or Xpewter, I think is what the name of the website is. But this is basically outlining that a job listing was posted by Bungie that requires the animator to create first and third-person content. Similar remarks are mentioned in the rest of the report, like the norm. The listing does not divulge more enticing details from Marathon. However, it suggests the combat could be eerily similar to Destiny 2. This tidbit has caused concern among the excited community. So I think they're really talking about this top section right here. Create high-quality first and third-person animations through keyframe and motion capture and editing. I also believe a little bit farther down said experience animating first and third-person content. So I don't know if this gives us too much to go off of, but it would make sense to me that some of their animations might rely on third-person perspective. I mean, we've been seeing that since Halo, whether it's getting in and out of vehicles or picking up flags or melee objects or melee weapons in Destiny 2. It would make sense if they continue down that, and honestly I'm not necessarily seeing that as a negative. I'm sure there's some fun platforming and stuff to do from that third person perspective, and I've liked the way that it was implemented in Halo and Marathon or Halo and Destiny as well. But I thought it was interesting that they were pointing it out here. And then from MMO Bomb, I saw that this Bungie exec jumped ship to lead Sony's live service games division. So Jeremy Rich, now former Bungie product management lead, has made the move over to Sony, where he will head up the live services division as the new live service product manager. Now, I don't think that this is indicative of anything directly going on with Marathon, but I do think that it's interesting that we're seeing Bungie staff move to Sony specifically within the live service department, as Marathon, if it's an extraction shooter, would be an ongoing live service game, presumably with seasons or DLC characters, being released, consistently for them to profit off of. And so it's interesting to see somebody from Bungie move into that position at Sony, who owns Bungie. And is that hinting that, hey, maybe Sony is taking a really big swing at Marathon? Maybe this is going to be kind of one of the premier Sony IPs, or although it's not going to be limited to PlayStation itself, maybe they're going to push really hard to build a strong PlayStation user base, and they want somebody who's familiar with Bungie, as that's the company that the game is coming from. Now, I know I've read some stuff somewhere about Bungie XX are going to be kind of leaving in 2026, where there's, money from the buyout that's going to be coming to them should be ending around that time, or that's the closing off of that period where everyone would profit from that merger or trade or whatever it was. So I don't think this is related to that, as he's only been at Bungie for 7.5 years, and I think that was more so senior people who were there way prior to the buyout. But seeing this integration between Sony and Bungie could be a situation where we're looking at, maybe their games becoming these soulless, endeavors about making money. And I've seen a lot of comments like that online, especially in reference to these articles. But I also think there's another component here where it could be, if they're given, the right creative freedoms and and they have the right goals in mind, the productivity and resources available to a Sony could make sustaining a large game like Marathon possible for a longer period of time. And if we're looking at it from a positive perspective, it would be beneficial if you had this backing of a major company. Now, I'm not a Fortnite fan, and I'm not jumping in there to play as Peter Griffin, but Epic is a major company, and that's why their game is able to produce, content that their player base wants to see on such a consistent basis. So if Bungie is able to retain this kind of creative freedom and implement the things that we want as the player base, I do think that it could be a benefit to have somebody who's intimately familiar with Bungie there to kind of point the live service division in the right direction. So I thought that was interesting news. And then I just wanted to point out here, I saw this post on the PlayStation subreddit that Jeremy Rich, when he was at Bungie, was the managing director of revenue and product management. So once again, it's not like he was a creative lead or designer on Marathon, or he was writing the story or, developing the narrative. But it is, interesting to note that he's taking over this higher position at Sony. And that could mean that they're putting a lot more weight into Marathon's success, both at the Sony level and the Bungie level. And then finally, I just wanted to hit on this from April 3rd, that Ben Lowe's Destiny 2's communication director has also left Bungie, and this came a day after the news about Jeremy Rich moving over to Sony. So obviously there are a lot of kind of shakeups and stuff going on at Bungie and Sony, and I know a lot is riding on this last DLC for Destiny 2. But it does seem like Bungie is moving in the direction of putting a lot of responsibility into Marathon success, dependent upon how this final DLC for Destiny goes. So I think it's interesting. Obviously, it's something to look out for, and hearing news that there might be some more information about Marathon here in May when Sony does their showcase is very exciting. So I just wanted to touch on these things and make sure the information is out there so we're all tracking what's going on in the Marathon world. If you guys like the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think about this down below. And like I said, that video about Hunt Showdown should be coming out within the next day or two. So thank you. Bye.